Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third edition of our Mission Hub with Mark Phillips. And I'm glad to have you on our segment today. Like you would have noticed, we have two broadcasts every week. On Tuesday, we focus on mission fields and missionaries. And today, we are going to, on this Friday episodes, we are going to focus on substance abuse, and we have to change the topic. I will let you know, but for now we are going to stay on substance abuse and other compulsive behaviors. But in this episode of Friday is going to dance between different approaches to missions, and also some things that we'll have to bring to you, and also arguments and discussions and other things. But on Tuesday, we are going to just focus on mission fields and planting churches and missionaries and crises we go through and all of that. So we are glad to have you. This is our third episode. And if you're watching for the first time, we are glad to have you. And you could just do well to follow us so that you can get alerted when you receive any of our broadcasts any day. And so you're welcome. We began a series last week on substance abuse. I gave an introduction, and I brought Katien on the scene, and I guess that many of you thanked him, and I mean many of you called him and really appreciate. We are so appreciative of you, and may God bless you. In the meantime, today what we want to do is to continue from where we left off. Today I will not spend too much time on talking because I have our guest with me. Is a lady who I met. I think at the same time I met the last guest, Katien, and she is a lady, and she'll be sharing her story in a few moments. But I'm glad to have her today, and she's been such a wonderful person. I'm sure you want to hear her story. So stay with me in the next 30 minutes, and we'll do this together. And may God bless you. The last place we left off, we talk about how substance abusers get dependent on drugs, and even though they want to break free, but it is not easy for them to do so. We talked about the definition, and we also talk about the role of the church and how they can help in the recovery of substance abusers. And like I said that day, our approach is non-pharmacological and Christ-centered approach to substance abuse and compulsive behaviors. And we talked about the reason why people abuse drugs, and how come that people can get lonely, and how people can have underlying factors, the reasons why people take substances. That sometimes there could be a solution to the problem, and we say we can sum up that into what we call emotional pain. And I think that is where we left off the other day. I don't want to go too much into how, but one of the things that I've been doing this for the last 19 years, and within these 19 years, we have worked with so many addicted people. We work with people who use heroin, and people who inject cocaine, and people who drink alcohol, and every drug known to man. And these people suffer. They suffer a lot. They suffer from all kinds of diseases, also, and infections. They suffer from heart valves. They die of infections of the brain, of their spine, of the heart, of their bloodstream, of suicide, of overdose, and of violence and accidental deaths. We lose people, and many of them also die of accidents and recklessness. Some are hit by cars, and this lost so many people truly in this time. And it pains when I remember all those things as a result of that. If you look at a typical addict, you will recall the word of one great novelist in Egypt called Naguib Mahfouz, who said, "Nothing records the effects of a sad life as graphically as the human body. Nothing." If you want to look at them, these addicts lose everything. They lose their health, they lose their beauty, they lose their teeth, they lose their wealth, and they lose their human relations, and then often end up losing their lives. And you know what? Nothing shakes them. Nothing stops them from doing what they are doing, and nothing can force them to give up their addictions, and because they suffer a lot. So their addictions are so powerful, and sometimes you want to wonder, why are people's addictions so powerful? Why should somebody stick to something that is destroying him and he cannot get out of here, even from the beginning? And sometimes we look at them as very stupid people, irresponsible, and we just wonder, okay, since this thing is making you this terrible, and you lose relationship, you lose everything, why can't you just give it up? And why? Most addictions, when they take drugs, they are not actually, they are only they are not afraid of life. They are more afraid of, most addicts are not afraid of dying. They are only afraid of life. And so when you think that there is life there they have to live, But that is the fear of every single addict. They are afraid of life. They are not afraid of death. You know, the question is, why are people not afraid of? Why are people afraid of life? And like I said at the beginning of this discussion, all I will raise are questions and questions and questions. Why are people afraid of life? Why should somebody be so afraid of life that he have to take drugs? And that is why our mantra in our addictive journey, we call it, we said you can't look at what is wrong with the addiction, you have to look at what is right about it. I think that is one of the major things that occupied our discussion last week. What is right about it, not what is wrong about it. And this is a very big shift from the traditional way of looking at addiction. Because more often, like I said last week, is that people look at addiction from a what the effects, the dangers of addiction, the power of addiction, how it grips its people. But today, what we are looking at is what is right about it. In other words, what are addicts getting from addiction that we don't see? Those of us who don't abuse drugs, what are they getting? What is so special? What are they getting that they don't have? What is it that is so special about this thing? And I can tell you, what addicts are getting is relief from pain, because most of them are pain. What they are getting is sense of peace. They want peace. Everybody wants peace. Even if you don't take drugs, you want peace in your life. A sense of control. They want a sense of control, and they want a sense of calmness. And now, these are what addicts get. There are more. The list is exhaustive, inexhaustive. But what I'm saying here is that these are some of the things that addicts are looking for. Imagine you don't have peace. What do? Some people eat, some people go to the cinema, some people do shopping, and all these kind of things you are looking for. And the problem, the next question is, why are these qualities missing from them? Why is it that somebody will have to look for relief from pain, somebody will have to look for a sense of peace and a sense of control and a sense of calmness? Why are these, and what happened to them? What happened to them? If you look at drugs like heroin, like morphine, like codeine, like cocaine, like alcohol, all these are pain killers. One way or the other, they all soothe pain. So the question of addiction is not why the addiction, but why the pain. So, as we are growing in our discussion, we are trying to delimit all these things one by one now. Why the pain, not why the addiction? Because if these things are a temporary relief to all these things, then why the pain? Most addicts are not looking, most addictions are about looking for oblivion, looking for forgetting. People want to forget about the past, their pain, and everything. The contortions that these addicts go through just to be on themselves for a few minutes. That is what addicts are looking for. And all that they are saying is that I want to forget about the pain. I want to have sense of peace. I want to have sense of control. And honestly speaking, for the past 19 years working with substance abusers, I'm not looking for one who is looking for acceptance, absent for love. Some drugs, when you take them, you feel hugged, you feel loved. More so that as addicts, when they get on this road, what happens to them is that they are rejected, they are abandoned by society, by the church, by neighborhood, by family, and honestly speaking, they get on that lonely road and they don't want to be here. I want to speak briefly to an addict today. If you're an addict, I tell you, you can get over your addiction if you can only trust God. We don't heal you from addiction, but we can point you to the person who will heal your addiction, and God is going to help you. And the society out there, if you are listening to me, and everybody listening to me on this broadcast, you know what you can do? You can actually become a vanguard in helping addicted people. I will stop here on this edition, and then we'll continue on part 3 of our discussion on substance abuse. Thank you very much. May God bless you. Hi everyone, I want to welcome all of us to this second edition of our guest interview. Today I have Salamatu Ibrahim with me. Salamatu Ibrahim joined my recovery center in June 2001. 3 months later she recovered. Today Salamatu is 1 year, 1 month sober. During this period, she relapsed once, but I can tell you she's strong. Remember last week we had Katien here who never relapsed at all. And relapse is not a failure, but is what happens after relapse. And she was able to handle her relapse well. And Kayla also came as a Muslim to our center. Our center, though a Christian center, does not reject other faiths. We accept Muslims and we don't impose our faith on you. we have many Muslims who came and graduated and left as Muslims. During the last Ramadan fast, we had Muslims who we cook for and we take care of them during the Ramadan period, and we do everything and provide everything they need so that they can serve and worship their God the way they want. In the process, we have some of them who actually also indicate interest in becoming Christians, and Kayla happens to be one of them. She became, Salamatu is happens to be one of them. She became a Christian, and she asked if she can be rechristened and rechristen her Kayla. So you will hear me probably talking about Kayla or Salamatu, whichever one is the same. And this evening, I want to welcome Kayla. You are welcome to this show.
Thank you, sir.
So
Thank
nice
you,
to have
Eddie.
you.
Thank
I
you.
know we've been on this amazing journey together,
Yeah.
and I'm glad to have you on this second part. You are the second person coming. You remember Katia? Katia was here
Yeah, of course.
just last week.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to have you on this show.
Yeah.
And we have an audience here who want to listen to your story, who wants to understand what you've been through,
Okay.
and all of that. And then, but first of all, what happened to you? Since this is in the head.
Okay. Talking about the relapse you said earlier. I relapsed like 2 weeks ago because I was depressed. I felt alone because my family left me for a while, and I had the news, and with that I decided to go back, but at the same time I didn't want to fall back, so I went back to my normal life. I didn't want to relapse, so I've
Okay,
come
so
back
in
to
the
my
course of the relapse, she had an accident and she got these bruises. And I was part of this process through the pain and the rough tough journey of getting her out. She stayed sober for over a year, and it's only 2 weeks ago that she relapsed. But I can tell you that Kayla is very strong right now.
Yeah.
And so, Kayla, would you want to tell us who is Kayla
Okay.
and what happened that you start taking drugs? At what point?
Okay. Okay, let me formally introduce myself. I used to be Salamat Ibrahim, but I'm Kayla now. Um, I at the point I started taking drugs was when I started working. I graduated from the university. I was okay, and I just had a boyfriend that was out of the country, and when he came back and he was taking Indian hemp, I was not down with it, but I was just there till one of the incident happened that he left me. So I was depressed. I think I was being triggered by that depression. So I decided to just go down for the drugs. I didn't even go down for only the Indian hemp. I was taking eventually everything.
Can you mention a few of them?
Yeah, I was taking crack cocaine, taking heroin, I was taking liquor, I was injecting, I was doing pentagocine, I was doing a lot of things like taking cigarette, anything that can just intoxicate me. I'm going down for it. So I was working, but I couldn't even hold my own money. I worked with the government, but I couldn't do anything. So I leave my father's house, I go down to my boyfriend's house, I get high, I can't go back. So at a point, my boyfriend left me, and I was not having source of money. So I decided to go down to the streets. And the street, you have to be in the bunks or you have to be on the streets. You understand? So that was it.
So you remember last week, Katian talks about a bomb. Where is this bomb?
This bunk, okay, let me see. The bunk is in Abuja.
Okay, you don't. Okay, you can just stop there.
Okay.
You are struggling. The jump bomb is in Abuja.
Yeah.
Now, it will interest you to know that we actually don't have people on our show until they are very convinced. We have a policy of not publicizing our clients, but when they come to a point where they decide that they want to do it, and they are doing it for a purpose so that they can reach out to any other person. Otherwise, if we are going to bring here, I think it will probably take us 10 years to have everybody every week on shows, because hundreds and hundreds have recovered from substance abuse. So, Kayla, when you were there in the bunk, what happened? How was your life? How long does it take?
Wow. In the bunk, your life can never. Okay, let me just say I'm a peeweed. Do you know the meaning of peeweed? People who inject drugs. As a drug intaker, if you are in the bunk, you can do anything to take drugs. you can sleep with any kind of man. Like we as the women, we if you don't have your money, you have to sleep with a man. You have to just go down just to get drugs. So at a time I go back home and pick my father's money or my mom's money just to come back and take drugs. But if I can't get it, I have to sleep with a man just to survive. The bunk is just like a
Yeah,
ladder.
I wanted to ask you, can you describe the bunk?
Okay. You know how they will just put four planks of
Okay.
wood,
Okay.
then they will just use this dangote cement bag
Okay.
and just cover it down.
Okay.
So let me say, I normally don't stay in the bunk completely because I have a father's house. But when you go there because of the addiction, when you are a period and you're an addict, when you go there, you feel you're more comfortable. Okay, let me just say, my parent really contributed to my addiction because the stigmatization at home is too much already. When I became an addict, if I come home, they all close their rooms, they all try to hide their
Yes,
properties.
because of course they take and
Yeah,
steal them.
they do all that. So I prefer to go back to the bunk and stay than to stay in the house. So the moment I just see anything I can pick in the house, I will just pick it and go back to the bunk.
And sell
And the
it.
bunk is not actually safe for me, but because I want to be a street girl, I just go there and I'll still mingle. And it keeps on going. The bunk is not a place to stay at all. At all.
And
You just put a, what do you call it, a carton on the ground and
okay.
sleep
No
when
bed sheet,
no bed sheet,
no
nothing.
pillow,
You
no
just
mattress.
no mattress, nothing.
Yeah, I've been to the bunk, I know, but I just wanted you to describe to the
Okay,
to the
all
people.
right.
Now, you see, this is what we are talking about when we talk about substance abusers feeling rejected, feeling unloved, being
From your family.
from your family, beginning from
Yeah.
your family. And so, when you take these drugs and you belong to those cycles, what you feel is that it replaces those things and you look for them. You could have done it out of like peer pressure or whatever it is, and we are coming to that in our lectures. But one of the key things that you have to get here is that the society will so well said, and we'll talk about it probably next week or in 2 weeks to come. But so, Kayla, how many years?
Okay, I started in 2018.
Okay,
In 2018, 19, 20, 21. That's like 4 years.
4 years in the
Yeah.
home, and you lost your job.
I lost my job with the government. I was working with News Agency of Nigeria.
Wow.
And like they were paying me well, I was doing well, but because of the addiction, I was not punctual at work. And there's no way as a civil servant, if you receive like query for 3 times, you are losing your job.
Okay, what was the most moment when you were in the bomb? Did you have a moment you can remember? And have you ever sat down and just cried? Or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. There was a time, okay, I had my baby. I had a baby. I have a boy now.
Okay, in the bunk.
In the bunk, Abba, I had Abba
Okay,
in the bunk.
okay.
I took in 2019.
Hmm.
That was like a year after my addiction. And I just sat down one day, I was pregnant, and I just looked at myself. I was like, wow, if I was in my father's house, I would have eaten a good food, I would have been doing all right, and there was no food, and I was hungry. And I was like, I called my elder brother and I was like, please, can you help me? Let me eat. He said, that was what you chose, then you can stay out and continue living your street life. So I cried and I cried. I thought of my job that I lost. And after like, that was just close to when I was supposed to deliver Abba. I delivered Abba on the street. Like, my water broke just in the bunk when nobody was there for me. There was no clothes for my baby. There was nothing. And I was like, wow, is this how life is? I went to the hospital. Like, it was even the hospital attendants that helped me to ask some women that had baby stains.
Babies, yeah, to help
Yeah,
you.
so to help me
To
to give,
contribute.
yeah, to contribute. They gave me some pampers and all that. And I was like, wow. The person that had the baby came afterwards and he couldn't even pay the 11,000. They said they needed blood, they needed a lot of things. And I was like, wow. this is so bad for my life that if I was in my father's house, if I was
So
organized.
Kayla is staying and her baby is staying with us right now, and I will talk about it at the concluding part of the story. And then, oh, so Kayla, what was the point that you felt you wanted to change? What happened?
Okay, in 2021, like February, I actually chilled out. I call it chill out. I stopped taking drugs because I was breastfeeding my baby, and I went back home. I actually went back home. So at a point, I left the baby for my father. I left the baby and I just left the house one certain day like that. After like, let me just say 4 months, I left the house. And my baby was, I think, he was 9 months then. I left the house and I went back to the street. My dad looked for me. I know maybe he might look for me and he didn't get to see me. I went back and from there, that was when I think God sent you to me and I found Christ. I think it was Christ that came into my life because it was those Christ like those words I had from God, like what they said to me and said, "Can do you want to change your life?" I was like, wow. I was so tired after 4 years and I have a child and I didn't know what to do. I was like, Kai, let me just end this thing. Let me just go. So that was how I left.
Okay, so Kayla left. There are two things I want to say here. Before I ask her this last question, she said she called her brother and they wouldn't send money. One of our operative things for parents who are out there and society who are out there, and in our recovery program, and we tell parents, and very soon we'll start running family therapy. So we'll tell families what to do with their addictive children. When that time comes, I will let you know. We'll have a Zoom meeting and then we'll discuss about it. But what we tell them is that don't give them what they deserve, give them what they need. Because sometimes it's not all about drugs. And when you don't give them what they need, that creates anger. And that anger takes them back into taking the drugs, and that will make them so angry. If for the most part, and there is a session that I will take on anger and how that leads into drugs. And what happens is that it makes them take more drugs than they ever could. And so you have to understand that sometimes they are angry with family. They may be the cause of the anger. It may be caused upon them, whatever it is. Anger is anger, and that can actually make them. So in the family therapy, we were talking about how you can keep your children in drugs, even though you're not the one that caused it, but you can keep them. And then we'll tell you how you can actually help to overcome them. And then Kayla came to our facility, and then she was one of the amazing people. Were you like this when you came? Did you look like this? I wish you can trace your picture.
Yeah, I actually have.
Do you have the old picture?
Yeah, I have.
Also, we couldn't. Okay, so we showed it. I mean,
I have the picture. I came to the facility from the first day.
Okay.
It's on my phone. I could.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So now another thing that I wanted to ask you is, how are you doing now? How do you feel now you are not taking drugs?
Yeah, I'm so grateful. The thing is that I'm very grateful. Apart from, okay, let me just say, I have to admit that recently I still feel bad about my family for abandoning me for a while, and I decided yeah, it's my decision. I decided to relapse.
But by the way, your mom, is she alive?
She's late.
Okay, she's
I
late,
I
so
never
yeah.
had a mom. My mom died when I was 3 months. So it was my stepmom that raised me with my dad. So I never had love. Like I never had love since I was growing up. It was only my dad that was always showing me love, always trying to make me come up, and he was doing everything to make me. But I always feel bad whenever I do something to make him feel hurt. So that's the only thing I know I face when. So that is the family thing that made me to relapse recently, because I still feel I don't have a family. Like
So I want you
I
to
don't
do
have.
two things. First of all, what
Yeah.
would you say to parents parents who have children who are abusing substances? Just one sentence for them.
The one sentence I'm going to say about parents: don't stigmatize your child. Even if your child is an addict, don't stigmatize him. Don't make him feel like maybe because he stole your phone or he stole something in the house and he came back home, then you tell him that, or you get out, or
You treat him like a dog.
yeah, you treat
and
him.
especially when there are other kids.
That
who are
child
abusing
that child will
substances.
love to go back. We have a language on the streets, even in the bunk they say we show love. If we call it Babylon, when you have 1,000 naira, if another brother from the street comes and come in and he doesn't have, you show love. So you prefer to go back to the bank. At least you see someone that will come and show you love.
No.
Because at home they might just decide to.
And yeah, and Kayla, you just reminded the story
Yeah.
in the jungle, and they said that we the Christians are no longer the brothers, or they don't have the love. They have the love.
Yeah.
Do you know why? When a drug addict is fighting with someone else, when another fellow drug addict, he won't ask questions, he will join. When they have two shots, they will share. When they have 15 naira, they will share.
Yeah.
We say this is the kind of love that is spoken about in the Bible, but we only see it in the bunk. We don't see it in church.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is also not to say that the church is.
They stigmatize you
Yeah.
outside.
So the last thing is that what will you say to a fellow addict, an addict who is taking drugs?
Okay.
Just one sentence, because
Okay.
our time is.
Okay, really, one sentence I want to say to an addict is that don't fall. If you actually want to recover, don't fall, because I want to say that, okay, I've actually fallen 2 weeks ago and it's a mistake. But if you really want to recover, just believe that God exists.
The business of helping substance abusers is a great business, and you can be a volunteer. If you are a drug addict out there, we can actually work to help you. You don't even have to come to our facility if you are really willing. The second is that if you are a parent out there, you have a child who is struggling, we can also help you. If you want to be trained on how to help a substance abuser, we can train on how to help a substance abuser. Whatever you want around this area, if you want to sponsor, we have many people who need sponsorship.
Yeah.
And honestly speaking, we have them, but we don't have the funding to help them. You can also help. And if we can privately discuss about this, and then my number will be jumped as well. And if you want to call, you can call and we can talk about it. May God bless you. Such a great episode today. Our time is fast spent, and we thank you for staying with us. 30 minutes is great, it's huge. Thank you for giving us that your time. And next Friday we'll come with another episode, and also we'll come with somebody else and we'll discuss about this. And I'm looking forward to that episode. And thank you very much. May God bless you. Still on this channel, this is Mission Hub with Mark Phillips, bringing you live mission experiences and updates and live interviews to the glory of God and for our people. Thank you.